The supercars most of us can only dream of driving, luxury houses beyond our reach, and the beautiful women. Adrenaline regularly pumping through the body, giving a natural high that transcends even the most fanatic sports enthusiast. A high that resonates with millions of people. But do we really know what happens when that high is gone?
I'm told the injury is so disturbing, we cannot show pictures of it.
This could be one of the last times Dean Windass walks onto a training pitch as a Hull City player. The club have made it clear they're happy for him to leave, and his playing days look to be over.
I was drinking, quite heavily, like to block out the pain really, and the more I was drinking, the worse I was getting.
And in an industry based on survival of the fittest, how can a player in the dressing room understand the person next to them might be facing some sort of difficulty?
I'm not very sympathetic towards people. I don't think people bring problems onto themselves, but I just don't understand.
And when your mind's not how it should be,
psychologically you lose your identity, you don't know who you are.
How can we really change the attitudes and stigma attached to failures, especially when many clubs ignore the pitfalls and their players' needs?
I haven't had anybody here talk to me about that since I've been here, and I've been here 10 years.
And are the Players Football Association giving the players the support they need?
It is a very survival of the fittest atmosphere, and that's something that we need to change.
Football. For years it's always captivated the masses, and though clubs rise and fall, the game itself never fails to falter. The world wants to samba when the World Cup makes a show, and in between, a lot of weekends are given over to the beautiful game. Emotions run high, both on and off the pitch, but do we really understand the lives and pressures of those we look up to in awe? The greats have fallen, and we're hopeful others won't. Alcohol and drug abuse, gambling, bankruptcy and depression. Some of the pitfalls a footballer may face, caused by injury, retirement or simply just the pressures of the job. Can we begin to understand that everyone is susceptible to these issues? Can we challenge the stigma attached to depression in such a male-dominated environment so we don't have another tragedy? My brother is a professional footballer, so I've been around the game for as long as I can remember. It's a dog-eat-dog world, and I know that showing weakness in any way could cost you a place on the team. I travelled across the country to speak to some players retired and still playing about their experiences and views on the various pitfalls a footballer may face, but also spoke to others whose standpoint is quite significant. Across the Humber Bridge, my first stop is the Centremoor Academy in Hull. I'm on my way to meet Dean Windass, a man who is known as a hero in his hometown and was never short of the dressing room banter in his playing days. Didn't think giving up the game would have such a dramatic impact on his life.
It's Nick Barmby. Windass to his right, Campbell to his left. Hull City's top scorer, Fraser Campbell. A slip by Lewis Carey. Windass! Quite simply, destined to be.
When I scored the goal at Wembley for Hull City to take me in the Premier League, it's probably the highest I've ever been in my life. So from being at the top of the tree and then all of a sudden you're falling down, it's quite tough. It was tough, obviously, coming out of the game. My dad dying, I ended up in Sporting Chance rehab in London, which was quite tough for me really.
40 sports professionals were treated at the Sporting Chance Clinic last year. Since its opening, it has become one of the leaders in the country for treating addictive disorders, working closely with the PFA and other sporting bodies.
Sporting Chance was established over a decade ago, and it was initially established by Tony Adams. Tony, quite open today about the issues that he suffered in football that were directly related to his drinking.
12 years, my footballing career and my drinking career went side by side, and when I weren't doing one, I was doing the other.
What he found at the time was it was very difficult for him as a very high-profile player to get the help and support that he needed.
You see a lot of sportsmen coming out the game will suffer with a bit of depression, And I suffered in that way, and I never thought it would ever happen to me, but you know, it got to me. I was working for Sky Sports and doing a lot of commentating.
Imagine, Jeff, after that 6-0 there in midweek, Gary Johnson's made one change, Danny Hayes has come in and Natanga's come in.
And you know, obviously, and then the problems that I had, it sort of come out with it. And I think that a lot of ex-footballers who, you know, they don't find anything to do. Unfortunately for you know, Gary Speed, who passed away and really suffered, you know, and nobody really knows what's happened when you close them front doors.
The Welsh football manager Gary Speed has died at the age of 42. The Football Association of Wales has told the BBC that it appears he had taken his own life.
He had everything.
Was there anything at all to suggest there may be problems off the field in his private life?
No, you know, in days of people get called a modern professional, Gary was, you know, the way he lived his life, you know.
You could be a Gary Speed, I could have been a Gary Speed, you know, and he was I knew Gary, I played, you know, and you'd never thought that Gary Speed had a problem.
We still have a clinic, a residential clinic that specifically treats addictive disorders. I have to say that, you know, a lot of the people that we treat there, it's not just about drink. There's a lot of gambling issues that we treat, and people that have used prescribed or non-prescribed medication as well.
I think that footballers, you know, they go home, the board, they go to the bookies, they have a bet, depending on how much money you earn. But there's a lot of players who have gone bankrupt because of all the money they squandered away, really. But then I found out there's a problem is that the more you drink, the more the next year, the more depressed you are, because obviously alcohol's a depressant. You know, I tried committing suicide twice, and I'm fortunate that, you know, it never, you know, it didn't get through really. And I just thought that, you know, I've got two kids, you know, 19 and 14-year-old, and I looked at them and I thought, well, how selfish am I really? If I run away from the problem, it's not gonna work for me. Recently, I got done drink driving, you know, which I'm not saying that I'm cured, because I'm not. I had a bad day yesterday, but I know how to deal with it. I know how to cope with it. You know, I know that if I've got a problem, I'll tell my girlfriend, or I'll tell my mum, or my brother, or Darren, or Brian. You know, I'll just say, yeah, I'm fed up today, and they'll, oh wow, what's up? But before I'd bottle it all in, and then I'd go to the pub, and then I'd come home and I'd be crying and I'd be feeling sorry for myself. The trouble is now I don't.
You know, the fact that people play professional sport and the fact that some people are privileged enough to earn good money doesn't make them immune to the problems of general society. There will be a percentage of people that have issues, emotional CT issues, that need treatment.
Yeah, they look at you as the aggressive footballer on the pitch, the big hard man with the tattoos and that. It's nothing. It's about, you know, when I was to cross that white line, I was a different person. And then when I walked in my house, you know, I was a gentle giant, as they say. But you know, it is. You know, everybody looks at you like, oh, he shouldn't have a problem. He's got loads of money. He shouldn't have this. He's got that car. He's got a lovely wife and kid. It's a load of rubbish, because you know, everybody suffers in some way.
Symptoms through alcohol, the symptoms through gambling, symptoms through drug. It's an unattractive illness. There'll be many people that aren't football players, aren't rugby players, aren't sports people, that suffer from alcohol, gambling and drug addictions. Their family members will tell you what an unattractive problem that is. So to have that magnified through the lens of a camera and put on a stage, and you know, what problems has he got? I think people don't overly have an understanding of it.
Clark Carlisle. He's been in the game for more than 16 years and has played across all 4 football divisions. A man then who knows the pressures at all levels of the game. He became the PFA chairman in 2010 and regularly collects the views of his fellow professionals, most recently on racism in the sport.
Yeah, well, this is a very pertinent topic for us as an industry.
It's our duty to make them aware at a bare minimum of what may befall them, and then help them to avoid that from happening. That's our duty as a union. That's what the members pay their subs for.
When Fabrice Muamba's heart stopped on the pitch at White Hart Lane, no one dared hope he would make a full recovery.
It's very hard to convince a successful person that the bad time is going to come. And also, the world of football is so precarious that you don't know if that bad time is in 12 years or in 12 hours.
At the Reebok today, the tributes and well-wishes continue to grow. And at the hospital in London, where Fabrice Muamba's being treated, confirmation this morning that he's stable but still critical.
Most of us are familiar with Fabrice's story. 25, healthy and a Premier League player. No one could have foreseen the shocking events of last year.
If we really look at it, I'm not really supposed to be here. So anything that I get from here, it's just a bonus.
Yeah. Just by the nature of the fact that I might be good at sport doesn't mean that I don't have genetic or hereditary problems, or that I don't feel the pressures of that.
There's nothing in the world that I can do. You know, football is not the end of the world. I'm gonna retire, yeah, but it seemed like it happened to be earlier than expected. And it's like when you're driving, you drive and you reach a dead end, you have to turn around, move the car into the other direction. Similar to me, I was driving, my car broke down a hard lane, I have to turn around and go different direction now. So this is life, you know, you have to find a way where you give yourself that insight in your head that there's bigger in life, there's big things in life than just football.
And although he will never play football again, Fabrice was lucky. The whole country was willing him to get better. Along with former teammate Gary Cahill, even top La Liga side Real Madrid were praying for Muamba. This was a heart attack. If Fabrice had have shown signs of addictive or compulsive behaviour just before a game, or succumbed to a mental illness, would the support from the fans and players have been the same?
I will say it has been extremely hard for me. I remember very, very clearly when I was in a place where I had to decide, do I retire, do I carry on, do I go play abroad, or do I focus on elite welfare management? And just to accept the fact that you're not going to be a football player anymore, you're not going to be training anymore, is extremely hard. You start doing self-destructive behaviors, go home, drink, go out, play PlayStation until 4 o'clock in the morning, silly things like that.
Once dubbed the man who will be worth billions, and including a playing career at Juventus, Portsmouth and Stoke, Vincent Pericard found himself leading a very different life after he failed to cope with the pressures of the game.
Injury after injury after injury, the frustration got so high that I had to channel it somewhere.
After retiring at just 29, Vincent decided to focus his efforts on setting up elite welfare management. Set in the scenic backdrop of Capesthorne House in Cheshire, elite welfare management offers players a tranquil retreat that focus more on preventative measures, unlike Sporting Chance, who primarily treat addictions.
I've decided to set up EWM because I really want to make a difference. I really want to help the next generation of players, and I recognize welfare and well-being was a gap. Was something was needed to improve players' performance, development and potential.
But does Vincent think we can alter our perception on the stigma attached to players who experience problems?
I don't think it's changing, and in some extent I wouldn't want it to change, because it's what gives us a buzz, and this is what gives us that adrenaline, that desire to win, and we need that. Obviously, that's sport competition is needed, but we must be able to provide that safety net if it goes a little bit too far.
You get to the age of 33 and you really don't know how long your body is able to output what you're trying to ask it. So it can literally happen over the course of a season. And it's so hard to get guys to think of this negative situation because they're so used to achieving and focusing and focusing high and on success and being all they want to be.
Next, I travelled to Plymouth to have a chat with a very familiar face, my brother, Anthony Charles has been playing professional football since the age of 18. In 2011, he experienced an injury that would see him out of the game for 9 months.
It was sort of like the final game of the season, so pretty much where we were in the league, we were secure, didn't really have much to play for. The team we were playing against sort of needed the 3 points, otherwise they could have been relegated, and it's literally like the last minute of the game, we were 3-0 up. I was running back and just sort of turned in the box trying to defend, and sort of just felt an excruciating pain in my knee, fell to the floor and pretty much knew there and then that I'd suffered a serious injury. So I was diagnosed with a surgeon, and he said, listen, I'm really sorry, it's a cruciate, you're going to be out for up to 9 months, it may be at worst case scenario you won't be able to play again. And for me the most frustrating thing just sort of being continuously lied to, rather than if Daddy said at the very beginning, listen, we are sorry, but your contract's come to an end, we can't afford to keep you on for a player that's going to be out for maybe 6 to 9 months. So it was pretty much sort of the way they sort of kept me hanging on, which was the most frustrating thing. I accept these things, injuries happen in life. I've been quite lucky that I've never had a serious injury up until that stage. But it was disappointing the way I felt, the way they treated me.
It's very hard to get clubs to allow you to sow a negative situation into one of their players, because they want them to be totally committed and focused. And this is where our approach to it as an industry needs to change.
The day I got told by the surgeon the injury and the timescale, that was the hardest hitting, because I was sat in my car just thinking, I'm coming to the end of my contract. So in the meantime, I had to pretty much take care of myself, go and do a lot of rehabilitation, and the PFA and the FA helped me with sending me to Lilleshall, and the staff there were absolutely brilliant. The months later where I was getting back into the rehabilitation, that was probably the hardest part of it. I was walking in there and just sort of couldn't really motivate myself. Simple exercises, but when you're doing simple exercises for weeks and weeks and they become months, they become very boring and mundane. It's just it was a horrible feeling, when is the light, where would there be some light at the end of the tunnel?
Even if you are successful, the statistics say you'll only have an 8-year career, and you've still got another, hopefully, 40 or 50 years of life to support after that, so you need to prepare for it.
But what about the guys that sit in the boxes every Saturday? Do they understand the pressures a professional footballer faces, especially those in Leagues 1 and 2?
I can understand that the guys in the lower leagues have got all the same challenges as the guys right up at the top, but without the benefits of the sky-high salaries. So yeah, I think it's quite difficult.
I'd like to think I can keep going, and you see the top players now, like how many years they can keep going. Some players are going into their 40s now, and if I could do that, brilliant. But I'm sort of slowly preparing myself. I'm looking into other avenues of what I can do. I'm doing a course now at the minute, a journalism course, and it's enjoyable. It's hard to take in, but I've got to prepare myself for after I finish playing, because I'm not at that sort of level where I've got enough in the bank to sort of just not worry about anything. And unless I pretty much win the lottery, I'm going to have to sort of carry on working until retirement.
If you reach the top like David Beckham, you reportedly retire on more than £197 million. But even if you don't, and you play top flight football, you'll probably earn more than 30 times that of a League 2 player.
Do you go work at Tesco? That's something we're not used to. You cannot just get a good working job in the bank. So for me, I think it's one of the most traumatic time for a football player to come out of a game and nothing is being done. Psychologically, you lose your identity. You don't know who you are. A player, when he retires, then your relationship, the dynamic of your relationship change. And that's something we're not educated, and that's something we don't expect. So that's why you see so many cases of divorce after a player came retirement, bankruptcy.
You are given certain information, but it's a matter of taking it in, and certain people will take it in different levels. I think the older you are, the more inclined you are to take it in. The younger you are, it's more likely to go in one ear and out another.
You've had a successful career. You've got some England under-21 caps, made for Chelsea team at one point. When you went to Crewe, you seemed to struggle settling in. You were at home a lot, out drinking with your friends. Do you think that young boys are educated enough on the pitfalls?
No, I don't think they are. I just think it's, you take somebody out of their sort of surroundings for something they're used to, where they're comfortable, and that was, for me, that was one of the hardest things. My friends were able to their lifestyles at the time were different. They were working Monday to Friday, and for them their most important night of the week was a Friday night and a Saturday. My most important night of the week was a Friday night, but in different ways, because I was meant to be preparing for a game on a Saturday. And if I wasn't involved in the team, you know, I'd probably come back and had a drink. And you can get distracted, but you know, I think it takes a strong character to maybe say to your friends, no, I'm not going to do it, I'm going to stay in. And
there is a responsibility within the individual. Now, in all that we do in football, it's a very nanny industry, you know. From 16 years of old, you have your backside wiped. You're told where to go, when to go there, what to wear, what to eat, when to sleep, how to do all of this. But these are men, these are human beings and adults. They have to make their own decisions and they have to be responsible for that.
We have a player here who has a dog, and one weekend he needed somewhere for the dog to go, and he didn't obviously want to kennel it. And I have a dog at home. So we looked after Flash for Maxime. And then sometimes if players have a little accident in their car, they need to know where they can go and have a very good job done quickly and discreetly.
Okay. So kind of comparing them to the pitfalls that footballers face, they're quite small. So if the boys had a problem, for example, such as gambling, were feeling depressed, is that something you think they would come and talk to you about?
I haven't had anybody here talk to me about that since I've been here, and I've been here 10 years.
Do you think that's because they would feel that it wouldn't be treated in a confidential way and it would get back to the manager or the chairman?
No, not at all.
Or you just don't think that there are those issues?
I'm not aware of having had those issues at the club.
Okay.
That doesn't surprise me that at Plymouth Argyle over the last 10 years nobody has come forward with this particular issue. But I think a lot of it has to do just with the stigma that's attached to it while you are a player. While you're a player, it's a sign of weakness. While you're a player, demonstrating any sign of fallibility is very difficult to do.
But, you know, I don't know how much help they would get if they needed it, and I think if you need help, you've got to be strong enough maybe to ask for it, but some players or some people don't want to ask for help.
I think there's a duty of care in the clubs to ensure that at a bare minimum they are making the players aware of what goes on, and they are being aware themselves to try and spot any signs of anything faltering.
I don't think we do enough. And I'm very happy to say to you, I don't think we do enough. So much, therefore, then depends on the manager and his coaching staff. And, of course, you get huge differences in terms of the way they are concerned with these sorts of issues or not, as the case may be. But we are, I think, a little bit over-dependent on what the manager is like and how sensitive he is to these needs, rather than having a very strong kind of corporate positioning on it.
English football does have a problem with gambling, with alcohol, with depression, and that's not going to go away. The understanding of it is improving, without a doubt. The coverage of it is becoming more mature. But there should be more awareness so that the next generation of players are able to deal with it. The next generation of players are able to talk about it more openly.
Anthony was lucky and made a full comeback. He was also lucky that he didn't succumb to any major pitfalls along the road to recovery.
It's given me a hunger now, because I missed sort of 9 months out of the game. It gave me a hunger to come back and enjoy my football a bit more. And, you know, but other things happened that sort of made me realise that my knee and the damage that had been caused to it wasn't the most important thing. It was, like I say, sort of something happened off the pitch when I was on holiday. Our daughter had a fall, and it was one of the most horrible feelings that I'd ever experienced, when that made me think and realise what was more important to me, not me, but you know, my children and my family. So.
Auntie Gemma didn't have a kiss.
Oh, I'm going to get her kissing.
Mwah.
You tired yet?
And back at the Centimore Academy, Dean is now focusing his efforts helping to develop the next generation so they can take a little step closer to life on the football pitch.
This is a massive plus for me, really. You know, being a Hull lad as well, You know, and it sort of works with the Dean Windass Soccer School. And so it's not just about playing football; it's about respecting your coaches, respecting the environment that you're in. You know, daft little things put your crisp packets in the bin and things like that, and not leave them on the floor. That's just daft little things like that. Where if it helps one little boy, then brilliant, because then he'll go home to his parents and say, well, yeah, he's had a bit of discipline today, and and now he can go home and tell his mum and dad what they've done today and this, that, and other. And
I honestly don't think sort of off the pitch people are very sympathetic to footballers, and I don't think they really care or want to listen to any sort of problems you have. They think, right, you're a footballer, you shouldn't have a problem. And that could be why a lot of people don't come out and say how they feel. It's and people can use it against you. People can see that as sort of a weakness in your character.
It's a very much a cutthroat industry where the survival of the fittest, whichever one of those cliches you want to use, that is the truth. Even within your football club, they are your teammates, but they're also your first competitors, because you're competing against every one of those to make that starting 11.
Sometimes a young man who happens to be good at sport or good at football, that's not all he is. He has a genetic history, he has a family life, he has all the problems that he's had as an individual.
No matter who you are, depression is an illness, and you may be susceptible to it. So I think football can help break that down.